This story is all about conviction. It's about a community that's been guarding this incredible secret to survival for over 500 years. A secret so powerful, they were willing to go up against one of the biggest superstars on the planet to protect it.
Okay, so picture this. We're in the Thar Desert, Rajasthan, India. The year is 1998, and this huge, pretty unforgiving landscape is about to become the backdrop for a scandal that would absolutely grip the entire nation.
So, you can just imagine the scene. Absolute confusion, maybe even a little panic, is starting to spread through Bollywood, India's billion-dollar film industry. Why? Well, one of their biggest stars, Salman Khan, he's out on location for a film shoot, and something has gone terribly, terribly wrong.
And here's what's truly remarkable: how this whole thing just blew up. See, the alarm wasn't sounded by the government or some big-shot NGO. No, it came from a local community that, honestly, most of India had never even heard of. But their relentless pressure? Man, they forced a second autopsy, which proved the crime and put a Bollywood icon in some real jeopardy. All of a sudden, he's facing actual prison time, and even the World Wildlife Fund was like, nope, you're off our calendar.
So this all leads to the big question, right? Who are the Bishnois, and why on earth would they be willing to risk everything to take on one of the most powerful men in India, all for the sake of an antelope? I mean, it seems completely out of proportion, unless, of course, you know their story.
All right, so to really get what happened in 1998, we can't just look at the scandal itself. We've got to go back, way back, more than 500 years to the 15th century. See, this isn't really a modern story at all. It's an ancient one.
I want you to try and imagine this world. The Thar Desert back then was just a brutal place to live. Think of it as this barren sea of sand and rock. And the people, well, they were trapped in a perfect storm of suffering. You had constant drought, a super rigid caste system, and violent invasions. Just surviving was a daily battle.
But into all this chaos, a visionary was born, Guru Jambeshwar, or as he was known, Jamboji. Now, to put his era into perspective for you, Leonardo da Vinci was born just 1 year later. So while da Vinci is over in Italy dreaming up flying machines, Jamboji is envisioning a totally new way for humanity to survive in this hostile world. And it was a devastating famine that really became the catalyst, the thing that pushed him to finally share that vision.
And here's the thing about Jamboji. He didn't just offer, spiritual comfort. He laid out this practical, totally radical blueprint for life. A set of rules designed to completely redefine his followers' relationship with the entire world around them.
And the name for his followers? It comes directly from this blueprint. In the local dialect, Bish means 20 and Noi means 9. So the Bishnoi are, quite literally, the 29ers. And that number, 29, it isn't just a name. It's everything. It's their entire identity. It represents 29 commandments that govern every single aspect of their lives, from personal hygiene all the way down to how you treat the smallest insect.
Just stop and think about how radical this was. We're talking 500 years ago, in a world defined by scarcity and violence, and Jamboji is out here preaching absolute compassion. He commanded his followers not to cut down living trees, to actively protect wildlife, and even to filter their water just to save the tiny organisms inside it. He even called for burying the dead, which was a huge deal in India, to avoid what he called the ridiculous act of killing a living tree just to cremate a dead body.
So, okay, these are really powerful ideas. But it makes you wonder, how far would you actually go for what you believe in? Well, in the 18th century, the Bishnoi were about to face the ultimate test of that question.
All right, the year is 1730. The local ruler, the Maharaja, he needs wood for his fancy new palace. So he sends his men to a village called Kajri, a Bishnoi village, with simple orders: chop down their sacred Kajri trees. He has absolutely no idea what he's about to unleash. What happens next is, well, it's the stuff of legend. A Bishnoi woman, her name was Amrita Devi, she walks right up to the soldiers. She hugs one of the trees and she tells them that her head would be a cheaper price to pay than a sacred tree. The soldiers, they don't even hesitate. They cut her down. Then they kill her 3 daughters who try to do the same thing. But their sacrifice doesn't create fear. No, it inspires. The entire village, one by one, starts hugging the trees, offering up their own lives.
By the time the Maharaja finally hears about this massacre and orders it to stop, it's already too late. 363 Bishnoi men, women, and children had been martyred, sacrificing their lives to protect their trees.
And that sacrifice, it was never forgotten.
In fact, over 200 years later, it directly inspired one of the world's most famous environmental movements, the Chipko movement, the original tree huggers of the 1970s. Their protest song was a direct echo of that Bishnoi belief, that the only way to protect ourselves is to protect nature. So all of this history brings us full circle, right back to where we started. The Bishnoi's standoff with a Bollywood superstar in 1998, that wasn't some random one-off event. It was the modern expression of a promise they made 500 years ago.
And the results of that promise, they are just astounding. Look, the Thar's the world's most populated desert, and it's constantly plagued by catastrophic droughts. Yet, when you enter a Bishnoi village, it's like stepping into another world entirely. It's a green oasis where the community is actually thriving. And here, protected wildlife like the black buck, the very animal from our story, they just wander around without any fear. They instinctively know they're safe. Okay, now let's zoom out and put what they've achieved into a global context, because this is where it gets really crazy. While the Bishnoi are busy creating oases, the rest of the world is facing a massive deforestation crisis. I mean, this chart shows you the severe impact in key regions, from the rainforests of South America that are just vanishing to deserts expanding across Africa and China. We are literally spending billions of dollars trying to solve the very problems the Bishnoi mastered centuries ago.
And that, right there, is the ultimate takeaway. The Bishnoi legacy shows us that what might seem like a purely spiritual belief, this absolute reverence for nature, is actually the most practical survival guide ever written. It's what allowed them to build a paradise in the middle of a desolate land.
So, as we face our own massive challenges today, climate change, desertification, mass extinction, it kind of forces us to ask a really powerful question. In a world that's desperately searching for new, high-tech solutions, could the real answer have been there all along, guarded for 500 years in the heart of an Indian desert?